Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Forget About It Fridays Unfiltered, the show where we talk business, hustle, and everything in between with entrepreneurs who are out there making it happen. I'm your host, Paul Italia, and as always, I'm joined by my co host, my guy, Kevin Hess, junk removal industry coach, mentor, and author of not one, but two incredible books, Leading with Purpose and Leading with Grit. This man's helped shape more junk removal success stories than a landfill's got mattresses. And that's saying something. What's up, Kevin? How are you tonight, brother?
What's going on, Paul?
So, Kevin, what's been
Man,
going on, man? What's catch me up in the junk industry and all? I haven't been paying attention. I've been too busy on the truck and everything, and kind of
I
wanted to
know,
catch up real quick. What's been going
man.
on?
Saw that billboard. That's exciting.
Oh, nice, man. Yeah, I've been getting calls all day, man, and I got the billboard. I finally did it. It's on the 101 going north, right by Petaluma, guys, right before Old Redwood Highway. And yeah, my billboard's up there with the logo and the phone number. And anybody that knows me has been calling me, shooting me text all day, like, dude, I seen the billboard. I love it and everything. So really excited about it. I'm going to be tracking, see what kind of business it brings in. And I'm going to keep everybody in the loop with that because I know since I've been in here for the last 9 months, that's been a topic that's come up quite often. Everybody's asking, anybody do the billboard yet? Anybody here? Anybody that's done? Nobody did it. So I had to jump on that and make the first move over here.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Nothing much new going on. I just got back. Me and my wife took a little trip down to New Orleans for our anniversary, and had a good time. Just got back Wednesday night, and just I've been hustling, trying to get caught back up.
I love it.
Um,
New Orleans, man. That's a good time over there.
yeah, no, it's my first time. It was a lot of fun.
Very,
My feet
very
are
nice.
feet are killing me, but the only other thing I got new going on is, this next Friday I do, you mentioned that I had two books out, but next Friday I have a third book coming out. It's still a secret, so I'll cover it up. But
Oh,
I got
man.
the third book coming out
Oh, my God.
you
Cannot
know,
wait for this. Kevin, you are knocking them
next
out, brother.
Friday. Next
I am
Friday.
so proud of you, brother, for real.
Yeah. No, this one is one that, you know, um, Xavier's book, Junk Removal Secrets, he had asked me to write a chapter in that book, but he told me, look, I want this hard hitting, I want no fluff, no BS, just in your face type of deal. And so I worked on that and I wrote that, and it was the most fun writing I've ever had. It was the best shit I've ever written. And I'm like, I had already had another book that I was already had started and everything else. And after I finished that, I scrapped it. I deleted it. I said, forget this. I'm starting over. I'm doing something hard hitting, in your face type stuff. No BS, no excuses. And you know, and I had the most fun writing it. And it's not only just the book, it's a workbook as well to hold yourself accountable. And it's just it's pretty freaking awesome.
Well, I can't wait to get my hands on it. I'm going to be buying a bunch of them. And of course, I'm going to have you autograph them before you send them out my way, brother. But I am very, very excited to hear that, man. And
Yeah,
can't wait.
coming out next Friday, week from today.
Love it. So I want to shout out to everybody in the chat right now. We got my man Drew from Vegas. What's up, brother? We got my man Cisco in the house. We got a
Cisco.
we got a queen in the room. We got Denise Sparks, the queen
Denise.
of junk. How are you?
What what's up, Denise?
My man Ignacio representing North Cal over here. We got my man Triple G in the house. Want to thank everybody in the junk industry for tuning in. Also want to shout out to my BNI chapter. We should have a bunch of them in here as well because today we have a very special guest, and that brings us to this now. So I want to bring in tonight, we have a very special guest, someone near and dear to me and part of my BNI family. She's a longtime member of our chapter, a total pro, and someone I connected with right away. Everyone, please welcome our BNI mortgage lender and all-around rock star, Amanda Hagar. How are you, Amanda?
Hey, Paul. Hey, Kevin. I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I am so happy to have you on here. I just have to let everybody know, I think it was my first, I think it was the first BNI meeting when I joined and everything. Amanda came right up to me, introduced herself right away, and she introduced me to come to a realtor group that she's a part of on Wednesdays. It goes down in North Cal over here. And I took her up on that offer, and I was very, very impressed with the whole everything. I was like, I need to get part of this and just network and all that. So Amanda is definitely one of the first people that reached out to me in the BNI, and I just want to thank you for that, Amanda.
Of course, we were so happy to have you. You've been a great addition, Paul.
Thank you for that. So I want to start off. I want to get your background. Where did you grow up? And tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah. So I'm originally from actually upstate New York, practically Canada, Plattsburgh, but came out to Northern California. Actually, East Bay is where I grew up for the most part. Went to high school in Walnut Creek, Concord area, and then college up at Chico, and then been here in Sonoma County the last almost 20 years.
Wow. I honestly, I didn't remember. Now that you just said that, I do remember hearing New York and all that, but that totally slipped my mind. So,
Yeah.
when did you make the big move across the country? Like, how old were you when that all went down?
Very young. I think I was 4 or 5. So I consider myself a Northern California girl.
Ah, okay, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So now tell me about how did you get into your career path? How did you become a mortgage lender, and how did that all begin?
I was in the service industry for a long time, bartending, catering, had my own catering company. But I always wanted to own a home, and it always looked interesting. Had a terrible sense of direction, so I knew I wasn't going to be a realtor. And of course, always liked earning my own money, making money. Wanted to see how I could make more. So the finance side just seemed like a good fit for me. And sure enough, 21 years later, still going strong.
Tell me about with your service industry background and everything. Did that help with your mortgage lending? Did it help? Was it a good fit for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Just learning how to talk to people, listening is also really important. Customer is always right. That service mentality goes a long way, especially in a very competitive market like real estate and mortgage lending.
Okay. And what was your business? How was your business approach back then? How has it evolved from the beginning? What has changed over the time since you got like all this experience and everything?
I was always kind of a shy kid, and just coming out of my shell, the older I get, the more confident I got, the more I learned about the industry itself and, how to make a loan work. And so I'm a lot more, I'm out in front of a lot more people these days than I was at the beginning of my career. At the beginning of my career, I was struggling to figure out how do you make something out of nothing? How do you go and develop relationships and trust, and so therefore becoming somebody's preferred lender, which is a big part of being successful in this industry.
And now, do you work for yourself? Did you work for a company? Like, how did that all begin when you first started with the mortgage lending?
I originally started with a broker, and I went through a couple. I started in 2005 or 6, so it was kind of a crazy time to start. Quite frankly, everybody seemed to be in the mortgage business or in the real estate business. I mean, I would walk into the supermarket, to the gas station, and the guy behind the counter taking your card to fill your tank was on the phone talking about his mortgage deal at the same time. So very interesting time. I finally found, after working for a couple folks, found a great guy that took me under his wings, really taught me how to be strategic and what to listen for. So worked for him for a couple years. And then when I had enough business, I actually found an in-house position at a bank. It was once Bank of the West. They recently became BMO. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And that got me through really the 2007, 8, 9. I worked for them until about 2010, and it was a great place to be at that time. They were still doing loans. I covered 6 branches here in Sonoma County. Great people at those branches. They referred business to me. And from there, I built my own business. Go to that meeting that I invited you to has been a really big part of my continued success. I've been a part of that for about 15 years now. And just consistency. And, when you say you're going to do something, you do your absolute best to get it done.
Now I got to ask you because when you started off, it seems like that was right before the big crash, the real estate crash back in,
Yeah.
I believe that was '08, right?
Yeah, '08, '09. Yeah, it was an interesting time. Values were going up and up and up. You basically fog a mirror, you could get a loan back then. And I'd say 99% of the people that I worked with at that time probably are no longer in real estate. There were unfortunately, a lot of dishonest people. I think that's one of the reasons I was able to stick around, is because I was one of the honest ones, and did my best not to sugarcoat what people were actually getting themselves into. We had the neg-am loans and the pick-a-pay loans, and a lot of people didn't understand or take the time to understand, and they didn't work with a person that was willing to explain it. Maybe didn't understand it themselves, quite frankly, back then.
So I got to ask you, what has changed since then? I'm sure there's been a lot of more regulations and,
Yeah.
And what was it like for you financially during that crash? Did that really affect you?
No, because I had just gotten in. I think had I been in, maybe 10 years older and gotten in and bought in a lot of real estate, it probably would have impacted me a lot differently. But I actually did really well during that time, because lending got a lot more stringent. People actually had to qualify for loans. So that's the main difference. And there were actually deals out there. So people that could see past all the hype, if you will, and see that these values came down, because real estate, really, that's the only time there's been a crash. There's been corrections, but that's been the only real estate crash in history, to my knowledge. And so the people that understood that were still buying houses and getting good deals, quite frankly, from 2010 to really COVID. You could buy pretty good deals.
Okay. Now, I want to ask you, for people who might not fully understand, can you walk us through what a mortgage lender actually does day to day?
Absolutely. So my basic job is to help people determine how they can secure financing, essentially, to buy a home. The average home value here in Sonoma County is, I got to be at least $750 these days. Not many of us have, $750,000 laying around to buy a house. So we have to use financing to buy that. So how do we accomplish that? If we have less than, 20% down, what are our options? And so that's my job, to talk to people, help put them on a plan. If their goal is to become a homeowner, how can we help them succeed in that goal? There's lots of different wonderful products. Has a mortgage broker. That's what I work for, a broker. We have more products and availability than any other type of lender out there. I mean, we have 0% down, if you qualify. Veterans, that would be a good example of a veteran loan. 3 to 5% down for a lot of primary or first-time home buyers. We even do private money, bank statements for self-employed folks. So debt service loans, and even some small commercial. So basically helping them determine that strategy, talking with them, how can we figure out if they can qualify to buy that house with the type of income that they have, the type of credit that they have, and assets. Sometimes we'll help with credit repair, because there's credit minimums and standards to qualify on a lot of these loans. And there's, you have to actually qualify to repay the debt now. So what is their debt to income ratio? That is their income versus the debt load that they're carrying, and then including that new house. What does that look like? So that's essentially what we're doing. We're helping people figure out how to finance to buy that home, that first home, that move up home, work with a lot of investors. And still, in my opinion, the best way to grow your wealth over time for the average person anyway.
I got to ask you, it's got to be a tricky, challenging time for you guys right now, just because of like the interest rates been so high. I know we had a little knockdown recently, and I know they're
Yeah.
expecting a couple more before the end of the year and all. But how do you deal with that challenge right now with the high interest rates? And nobody wants to sell right now because they bought in so low, and wouldn't really make sense.
Yeah, I think it's actually a great time to buy right now. It's better than it's been prior to COVID. Interest rates are back down in the high fives to low sixes for most folks for fully underwritten loans. So these are your 30-year fixed loans, and we are going to see a bit of I think a push and pull between buyers and sellers over the next few years. I think it's going to be a fairly flat to nominal improvement in values, but over time, it's the old saying goes, best time to buy a house was 5 years ago, second best time is today, because over time it will go up. So I always premise this when I'm talking with my clients. This is a long-term investment. This is not something that you're going to get rich overnight on, like a lucky crypto pick or stock pick. This is something that you need to understand over time. You will pay this loan down. It will appreciate naturally, even with, just inflation wise. And by the time you are, 50, 60 years old, if you're buying your first house in your 20s or 30s, you now have often a six-figure asset with some tax advantage to boot. So I'm actually having knock on wood, a pretty good year. 2023 was rough when the rates just went up so quickly. But the last couple of years, people are starting to see the sellers that need to sell right now are going to price their homes accordingly. The sellers that are just testing the water, they're not going to price those homes competitively. So we're still seeing multiple offers on 99% of the pre-approval letters that I send out.
I got to ask you, is it only this market that it's still real estate's moving? Because, I'm hearing like on the other side of the country over by like Florida, it's like a bubble has burst over there. And, so when I heard that, I was like, oh, wow, Florida is going to be the first. And then there's kind of going to be a correction across the United States. Do you
Right.
see that happening in California at all? Or it just keeps selling so quick, it's not going to happen out here?
Well, every that's the first thing to remember. Every market's going to be unique. Florida, parts of Texas, those got hit really hard because that's where
Everybody left.
that's where everybody went. So they had a lot of influx very quickly. And then of course we've had a lot of issues that have caused home insurance to rise pretty quickly, especially in those states. So we're going to see some bubbles burst when you enter into a market with a low price home and everybody rushes over there and pushes those prices up quickly. Here in California, we're one of the higher income states. There's definitely probably parts of California that aren't moving real estate as much as here in Sonoma County or the Greater Bay Area. But I mean, I could be wrong. I do not have a crystal ball, but I do not see any type of crash on the horizon. There's just not enough inventory and there's plenty of demand. I see more of just a slow and steady push and pull from the sellers that have to sell versus the ones that have no mortgage or, a 3 or 4%. Most of the folks in the United States that own homes, about 40% of those folks do not have a mortgage at all. The other 60% that own homes that do have a mortgage, under 4% on average. So even if they were to lose their job, that disability, that unemployment would probably pay that. And if I've got $300,000 of equity in my home, the last thing I'm going to do is let my home go into foreclosure. I'm going to stop paying my credit cards first. I'm going to cancel my streaming services. And then if all else fails, I'm going to sell that property on the market for market value, wait and buy something when, my life turns around essentially. So we're not going to see this. There's not this shadow inventory. It's still a pretty stable market and a good time to buy if you can find something that works for you.
Now, do you believe that the interest rates are going to be cut a couple more times before the end of the year? And will that change things in the market?
Good question. So the media does a pretty terrible job at explaining what the Fed's fund rate is. It doesn't actually impact directly anyway our 30-year, our long-term interest rates. Mortgage rates are long-term rates. The Fed's fund rate is a short-term rate. So What that changes is your credit card rates, your home equity line of credit rates, the rates that banks lend to one another overnight. It influences our interest rates, but because most of that information is seen coming months and months ahead of time, you have lots of economists listening very carefully to everything that the Fed says. So if they think that they're going to cut the Fed's fund rate another quarter to 50 basis points this year, you can bet that's already baked into our mortgage rates. So unless we get some type of surprise, I expect that interest rates are probably going to stay here. And if we see a recession of some kind, we might see a little bit better rates, but there's a lot of things going on that could, keep them a little higher than they would have otherwise. I would, and quite frankly, historically, if you're looking at, since we've had a traditional 30-year fixed mortgage, an average interest rate historically is about 6.25%. So we're about average historically right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are some common misconceptions people have about getting a mortgage?
That they need 20% down. That's huge. I would say 5 to 10% of my clients actually have 20% or more down. Most people are coming in with 3 to 10% down. And I would almost suggest, if you had more to put down and you didn't need to put it down to qualify, to hold on to some of that cash, especially going into a more uncertain economy. And if you can make more than 6% on your money somewhere else, it might make sense to hold on to that cash, because 30 years is a long time. $100,000 more or less down on a payment on a 30-year fixed loan right now only moves your payment by about $650 a month. I'd much rather hold on to that $100,000, make 6% on it every year, and just borrow from that when I need it. That makes me sleep better a little bit at night. So that's a strategy I'm talking with a lot of my clients that do have that extra cash. But down payment is the number one conception. Thinking that they need to be at their job for 2 full years. Some self-employed people think they need to show money on their tax returns. That's not necessarily the case. We can use bank statements to qualify oftentimes, with very good interest rates still on those. Those are probably the two. And then, of course, not talking with somebody because they don't think they're ready. Talking with someone like me sooner versus later is really important, because sometimes people do things that actually sets them back. They think paying off a credit card and closing a credit card actually helps. I talked to a young couple yesterday, and thank goodness we have these conversations. He was going to go close a credit card that he hadn't used in a long time, but was in good standing. And I said, don't do that. Yeah, because that history, especially in a good standing credit card, is really important to help build credit over time.
Yeah, definitely. Are there certain types of clients or situations you specialize in? For like instance, first time buyers, investors, refis?
Good question. I do all those. Those are all in my wheelhouse. I am also a real estate investor, so I enjoy working with people that want to grow their portfolio. I love working with first time home buyers, especially ones that want to learn and kind of suck it up as like a sponge. I think it's great to see people kind of that light bulb moment and see how they can actually, become wealthy over time. The thing I hear more often than anything else in my career is, because I do work with older folks as well, is, gosh, Amanda, had I held on to the houses that I've owned over my life, I would be a multimillionaire by now. That starter home, if you can hold on to that starter home, and keep moving up from there, you'll be in a very good position by the time you're ready to retire.
So like, you mean like a good move would be buy that starter home, work yourself up, start saving up for the next one, make that starter home into an investment property, move on to the next one.
Exactly. Yeah, because you don't need 20% down to buy a primary home. So you could conceivably, say use a 5% down, buy a condo or a starter home here in the Bay Area, live in it for the next, 5 to 10 years, save your money, pay that down a little bit, buy another primary home with 5% down. There's nothing stopping you from buying. You can buy actually technically one primary home every 12 months. It just has to make sense to the underwriter. You can't go and buy a beautiful $1 million house one year call it your primary home, and then go buy, a $400,000 condo the next year and call it a primary home. It just has to make sense, but you can move up over time. And that's where a lot of people strategically can make some really good decisions. Also, if you're a young family and you're having kids, you can keep that house. By the time they're ready for college, you've got an asset that's practically paid off that you can give to them, pay for their first house, pay for college, pay for a wedding, whatever the case may be.
So you're giving perfect examples of why it's smarter to connect with you earlier than later, because, just from this, you could plan it out for them from A to Z, from the first time they buy their house to, 3 investment properties down the line. We could have this whole plan the whole way. So guys, if you're listening, definitely hit up Amanda, start making your plans now, start the connection earlier, sooner than later, because you heard all the myths before. We don't want to wait, no procrastination, just jump on it, be a doer, make it happen.
Absolutely.
Kevin, talk to me. I know you've been listening there, and I want to hear what's your feedback and what kind of questions do you have for Amanda?
No, I'm excited to hear, what she just said. When I bought my home, I actually bought it during the housing crisis, and I got it for a steal. It was a foreclosure. I got it super cheap. It's 3,500 square feet on an acre of land. And it's, to me, this is going to be my retirement. Just
Nice.
and everything, and just thinking about it, just like, I bought it, put like 10 grand into remodeling it right off the bat, did most of the work myself. And, it was a great investment. And to me, it's like, I'm watching every year I'm watching it rise, and it's like, okay, that was a great investment. It was a great time to buy when others couldn't do it. I had just moved to Georgia from Miami, and the house that I live in now in Miami would go for about $2 million.
Wow.
So, moving to Georgia, you would be shocked on how much I got my house for,
Really?
so yeah.
Yeah.
So, just hearing you say that just kind of confirms that I made the right decision at that time. And, it's going to be a great decision later on down the road.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just, we were the last 15, 20 years were really a gift if you were buying real estate. And just because I'm not expecting something like that to happen again doesn't mean real estate's not a good investment. People made plenty of money in real estate over time, long before, we had that crash. But it's a steady investment type.
I got to ask you this, Amanda. How has technology changed the mortgage process since you started?
Fortunately, not a whole lot from my side of things, but I'm on the sales side. My processor might have a different opinion on that. There are a lot of the big kind of big box lenders, as I'd like to call them, like a Rocket Mortgage, where they, have call centers. And they just smile and dial and hope that they get somebody that will want to work with them. So I don't know what type of technology that those folks use, but they're probably more inside the box lenders. There's a lot of nuance to this industry. Things really have to be just so to make it work and fit inside these guidelines. So if you're not working with somebody that understands how to package a loan, speak to an underwriter, basically draw that picture for you, so an underwriter understands what's going on, it can be very stressful and frustrating. It's not a just send your stuff in, see it, see if it sticks. Essentially, there's a lot more to it.
Okay, now let me ask you, how do you find your clients? Like, how is your marketing, and how do you reach out? And I know you've been doing this 30 years. I'm sure you've got a nice Rolodex. So.
21, not that old yet, but thank you. Yeah,
as
no,
far
good
as
question.
how about with websites and SEO? Is that stuff that's prevalent in the mortgage lending industry?
Yeah, so a lot of people. I do have a website. It's pretty basic. I have a virtual assistant that helps with some social media, and I know that some of my colleagues have had especially some of my real estate colleagues have had very good success with like a YouTube channel, sharing stories like that. I'm starting to do some of that with a couple of my realtor friends, but quite frankly, I'd say 90% of my business for the first 10 years anyway came from realtors. So just being at those meetings, doing open houses with them, being that person that answers the phone on evenings and weekends, and performing when you say, just slowly over time. That's how I originally built my business. And now I'd say it's about 50-50. A lot of these, because I have a client database, probably about 50% of my business comes from past clients or referrals from them, and the other 50% from realtors.
I got to ask you about the VA. So for you guys that don't know, that's a virtual assistant and everything. So where is your VA out of? Is it in the United States? Is it out of country?
She is in the Philippines. Yeah. And it took me a couple years to find somebody that I really could work with and trust, and was, because there was a time difference. That was the biggest issue, is finding somebody that said they would be working, but it's very early in the morning for them, oftentimes during our business hours. So I found somebody after going through a couple folks, and it's been quite frankly life-changing. She's great.
So I'm very familiar with working with VAs in the Philippines. The
Yeah.
guy that runs my SEO, shout out Rank Fortress. He's got a whole army in Philippines. It's he does all my SEO, and he's got a bunch of virtual assistant team. I think he's got 80 something people that work under him. So we're very familiar with that in the junk removal industry and all. What I'm very curious is, what is some of the tasks and jobs that you give to the VA to handle for you?
Yeah, it's mostly creating social media posts, sending newsletters to my database, adding contacts to my customer retention. That's primarily what she helps me with. And then I have, I have some other businesses she helps me with as well.
Now, as far as, do you work with like a CRM to, kind of keep all your clients, to have all their data in one place, and a place where you could send out mass emails and SMS blasts? Do you do any of that?
I do have a CRM. We do emails. I haven't done the SMS, just because it seems, I don't necessarily want to go through all the steps to get to that at this point. I don't need to either. I think it would just be a little overwhelming. But we do send weekly emails out, newsletter emails, and weekly social media posts as well.
Okay, so you would say that a lot of the growth that you experience in marketing would be organic growth, from, being out there networking in person, and obviously like the BNI chapter that you're part of. What is some other organic groups or networking that you participate in?
Really, for the real estate stuff, it has been primarily going to the realtor NMLS meetings that here in Sonoma County. They different days of the week, cover different cities. BNI has been amazing. My partner is actually an RN at Sutter, so that has been good over time. And we do me and my small team do a lot of charity with that. So we've done, after the fires in 2017, we organized a big party. Essentially, we had a live band and food and raffles, and that was great. And we do a lunch for some of the local hospitals here for Nurses Week, so that's been very good. I have a heroes program that is focused on giving back to nurses, firefighters, police officers, veterans, veterinarians, and teachers. So we push a lot of that on our social media and our newsletters. We give cash back at closing. We have some discounted rates for those folks. So that's been the majority, I'd say, of how I've gotten the most of my business.
What would you say is one of your strengths that really stick out?
Communication, for sure. You do have to be able to be communicating pretty regularly, especially on purchase deals, because there's a buyer and the seller. They don't communicate. There's two different agents that need to be in the loop on what's going on with the financing. So communication, I'd say, is probably my strength and something I've counted on to help me keep
I
my referral base.
I would also tie in there networking. I could definitely
Yeah.
see you as a super networker just from, from the first meeting that I met you and how you came up right away, very confident, introduced yourself and all that. It definitely stuck out for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Also, so I want to get into some fun stuff now. And you got this podcast that you have out. It's called The Carrot.
Yes.
This is this is the secret sauce right here. I
Yeah.
started listening. I absolutely love it. I mean, it's
Thank
you
you.
and three of your best friends got together and they've been doing this podcast and they hit on all different kinds of topics and all. And actually the last topic was very interesting. It was on aliens and all that stuff
Oh, that's right.
with the
Yeah.
with the 3-eye atlas and all that. And there's been
Right.
a lot of talk about that, but I've been listening to Joe Rogan and they've been mentioning that as well. So
Oh,
I
nice.
was just, me and my wife, we were just absolutely dying today with just the energy you guys bring. It's just like it's fun. It's like it's just, you could tell you guys are so connected and you're all best friends, and it's just like the small talk and the laughing, and it was amazing. So guys, I really
Thank you.
strongly encourage you guys to check out their podcast. Definitely.
My take on that, it feels like I'm eavesdropping on like real conversation amongst some
The girls.
some Gen X girls just sitting back. I feel like I can like picture them drinking a glass of wine, and it's just I just feel like I'm eavesdropping, and it's a really cool thing. You guys just, I mean, obviously you got a great flow. Just because 30 years together, as best friends, it's just such an easy conversation, such an easy flow. It's like, after 30 years, I mean, that's having a friendship for 30 years. That's something that's really, really, that's rare. So what's the secret sauce to like keeping that bond together?
We're all so different. It's actually it's kind of crazy. Carolyn and I have known each other since we were, 11, 12 years old. We met in junior high and became very close in high school. And then the other two, we both went to Chico State, and we met the other two in the dorms our freshman year. And really just making an effort to stay in touch. None of us just by happenstance have kids, so I think that's also kind of a reason why we have stayed as close as we have. I think we probably would have lost touch a little bit if because that's a very different lifestyle.
Yeah.
And just accepting one another, because we are so different. We have different political views. We have different tastes and just about everything under the sun. But at the core, we're all generally good, nice people, and have a great time together. And yeah, this podcast has been so fun for me. I tried to get them to do this since COVID, actually. And I finally, one of my colleagues who I do actually another little podcast called Offer to Gold too, on the loan stuff. Hannah Escher, shout out to Hannah. She's also a loan officer here in Sonoma County. She agreed to produce it for me after she heard the idea. And so I said, girls, come on. It's just getting on the phone or getting on the Zoom once a week, doing Zoom. Hannah's going to produce it, take care of it for us. And it's been ever since. So it's been a few months now we've been doing it.
And how's it taken off in your industry? Is that like making you guys stand out? Are you seeing like you're getting business from it? And tell me about that.
I don't think so. Not yet. It's only been a couple months. We did just enter, I submitted to a contest. Maybe you've heard of this, Paul, the Ambies, and we're going to submit to the Webbies as well to try to get a little more traction. But it's not something I focus on when I go and talk to my real estate agents. A couple of them who I'm more friendly with know about it and have listened to it and have given me some nice feedback. But it's not something I necessarily go out and advertise. But I would love if it got some legs and took off, because it is so much fun.
And you're going to be surprised. That is going to take off, and it's going to be a big thing in your industry. Like it's going to be like the go-to. I could tell. I mean, the energy you guys got, and everybody's going to want to be part of it. And I mean, you're going to come like the local celebrity, and I see that being a very good thing for the business for sure.
I would love that. Yeah.
And me as a Gen Xer, you know, I related to a lot of the pop culture, you know, that you're talking about in there, you know, different movies
Nice.
and music and everything else. So, you know, I really enjoyed it, and
That
you
makes me
know,
so happy, guys. Thank you.
I like it. You guys, you know, it's girl talk, and it's unfiltered, and it's, you know, especially the public displays of
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Right. I know.
That one was
I
kind of
know.
fun.
Us Gen X ladies are having a bit of a moment. So I'm like, why not? Let's see how far we can take it.
I want to say to everybody in the chat, guys, feel free to ask some questions. We're going to do some questions. If you guys want to shout out something, just put it in the chat. I'll definitely read that off. I also wanted to know, what's been your biggest lesson in building relationships and growing your personal brand?
My biggest lesson.
Yes, your biggest lesson in building relationships.
Oh, really just, I really think it comes back to just the listening and understanding what people are trying to accomplish and being sensitive about those goals, because, there's salespeople that push something down your throat, and then there's salespeople that listen and help you accomplish those goals. And I knew early on I didn't want to be the one that kind of pushed my agenda. And sometimes you don't get the deal. Sometimes you don't get the deal. Sometimes people aren't ready, but they always remember that you spent the time to explain things thoroughly to them and that you were kind to them. So I try to do that as often as I can.
What mindset or daily habit has helped you stay successful through the ups and downs?
Just grinding. You know how that is. Just getting up and doing it even when you don't feel like it. Because there's days you don't feel like it. You get a couple
Oh, yeah.
no's or you lose a couple deals and you're like, oh, just making that. One of my early brokers said, just push yourself to make 3 more calls. When you just don't feel like it, just make those 3 more calls. And so I've always done that.
That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
I always say. Consistency is always going to win,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
grinding all the time.
Absolutely. I know I'm not as smart as the other person oftentimes, but I can definitely outwork just about anybody.
That's it. That's it. Every
Yeah.
second of the day, I'm coming. Putting it all in there. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what
For
advice
sure.
would you give someone looking to enter mortgage lending or any commission-based business?
Yeah, any commission based. Find a good mentor. Find a company that will give you that support, because especially in the mortgage business, there's a lot of technical aspects to it. Your personality, like you said, can only go so far. You do need to have a support. If you're bringing in those deals, you need to have somebody to help you close them once you get them.
I think that's true in almost every industry, and I always preach that in any industry I go in. That is my formula: is how to cut time like 1/5 at a time. I always try doing what it's going to take a normal person 5 years in 1 year. And the formula I do is I seek the mentor. I seek the person that is very successful in the industry, is doing it at the top quality there is, and I learn. I come a sponge and just learn everything about it. You know what I mean? And that I learn from their experience. I put the ego away. I say, all right, they're telling me they made a mistake doing this. I don't want to learn that from that mistake. I want to listen to them and believe them, and then go from that. And that just seems to cut the time down so much. And I've been
Absolutely.
in so many different industries where it always works that way. So that is one of the best advice that I could give somebody: is
Yeah.
always seek for that mentor when you get any industry you want to learn from the best.
Yeah.
Kevin, I
Absolutely.
got to bring that up to you, brother, because Kevin is one of these guys that I talk about in the junk removal world. Kevin is he worked for all the big box franchises, and he made them go from millions to hundreds of millions. He taught them the customer service ways. He made his own systems and everything. And when I got into junk removal, Kevin was that guy that I was just like, he's did it at the top level. I want to learn from him, and I just soak up everything he talks about. So, Kevin, kind of fill us in, man. And
And it seems like everybody that we talk to, they all say the exact same thing: mentors. And
Yeah.
in the junk removal industry, there's a lot of naysayers when it comes to mentors, because they had a bad taste in their mouth from others. But I've had mentors in the past. Some of the most successful people in the world. You know, Elon Musk has had many mentors, Bill Gates, you know, anybody you can name that's successful. And, you know, mentoring for me is, you know, I've had some amazing mentors in the business world. Hell, I've had a mentor who was a former NFL wide receiver. Um, you know, he's the one that actually gave me the idea for the book that I just wrote.
Nice.
And, you know, just having those mentors is, you know, it's really, like you said, Paul, it cuts down time, you know, but, you know, you learn about, they've already made the failures that you're, you know, afraid, you know, that you already have that fear of, and they know they've already overcome it. So, you know, just learning from them
Kevin,
is,
I want you to explain your role with 1-800 Got Junk, because I remember when I first came into industry, that was that story was just so inspiring to me. I would like you to share that with everybody so they understand, you know, the level of how much you helped 1-800 Got Junk go from one level to a whole nother level.
yeah, you know, it all started when I first worked for him, you know, as an operations manager. It was a little mom and pop location. They were actually doing pretty good, you know, started off at $800,000. And,
Mm.
you know, as we started growing, as I, you know, when I went in there as the operations manager, we moved up, you know, over a span of like 6 years, that went from 800,000 to 1.5 million, you know, and we thought we were doing great. But, you know, after my cancer diagnosis, you know, I started changing my mindset. You know, I started finding mentors. You know, a mentor for me is actually the one, you know, he was one of the vice presidents of the company. He used to be a local guy. He used to be, you know, a area manager, and he gave me a really great advice, because I asked for some really honest feedback, and he told me, he said, "Look, Kevin, you're one of the best managers in the system. You're great at managing the business. You're great at managing the processes and systems, but you're not a good leader."
Hmm.
And, you know, and I, at the time, I did not understand there was a difference between being a manager and being a leader. You know, I just figured a leader was somebody had that title. So once I started changing my mindset and started learning how to become a leader, you know, with different podcasts, reading a lot of books, that's when everything started changing in the business. You know, that next year we went from that 1.5 to 2.5 million. The year after that, as I started growing more, you know, we went from 2.5 to 3.5.
Mm.
And, you know, and I realized as a leader, I have found my purpose, and finding that purpose really made me passionate about getting up in the morning and going to work and leading this team and watching this team grow. But then I realized, I'm like, imagine, you know, I'm sacrificing time, blood, sweat, and tears into this business because I found my purpose. So what happens if I actually help my team find their purpose? And that's when I started developing my team as leaders as well. So that, you know, 2.5 went up to 3.5, that 3.5 went up to 6 million, that 6 million went up to 9 million. You know, it's just, you know, finding that vision and that mission that the guys can rally behind, and, you know, helping develop them, giving them forward momentum in the business, um, causes that buy-in that just, it's,
Mhm.
you can't put a price on. So, you know, leadership to me is what helped grow that business. And it went to, you know, being the number one ranked,
Yeah.
you know, the highest performing junk removal company basically in the world.
Yeah.
It was
So
building a culture is pretty much what you were saying
exactly,
that.
you know, I built an amazing culture that people were excited to come to work every day. They were excited to have that forward momentum and actually have, you know, they weren't just hauling junk and trash. They actually had a career path that they can join. And, you know, and that story is very, very long. And watching, you know, creating a legacy of that leadership and watching so many people move forward. I have, you know, I could sit there and talk about this for the next 2 hours, but I don't want to take up all the time, you know, and that's what, you know, that's what, that passion for leadership, you know, even after I left, caused me, you know, that's why I wrote the books that I wrote, that caused me to, you know, start my other businesses, you know, in leadership development and helping other people. And, I don't have a team of 50 guys to lead anymore. So now I lead in other industries, in the junk removal industry. I lead in other industries as well. I just had last week, I was a guest speaker at one of the cities in my area. They had a leadership luncheon, and ever since then, I've been having all these, getting all these emails from different people within the city that, are thanking me for inspiring them. And, to me, that again, that's my purpose.
I love it.
That's great.
Danny from our chapter, she has a question. She goes, what
Nice.
drives you to do the grind? What fills your cup?
Is that to anyone? Is that to me?
That was you,
That's
Amanda,
you.
when we were
That's
talking
you.
earlier about being consistent and all that.
Yeah. I really do need to give myself some more downtime, if I'm being honest. But when I do, I'm kind of a homebody. I like to just kind of find a good movie on TV. I love to take the dogs, go on long walks with my partner. We go in the summer, we go to Lake Sonoma a lot, go paddleboarding. It's just gorgeous out there. I don't know if you guys have spent any time out there, but if you can get away on like a late afternoon on a weekday when nobody else is out there, it's fantastic. You have the whole place to yourself.
I got to bring up a place for you since you had that last discussion on the Karen's podcast. How about Lake Shasta?
Oh man, love Lake Shasta.
With
Yeah.
all the alien talk and star people and all that, and me and my girl went down a rabbit hole. I think it was like a documentary, and I think it was a couple of months ago it came out, and it was all on Lake Shasta and talking
Really?
about the star people and all that. It was so good that we literally took off the next weekend and we went up there and kind of just did our own investigations, took little
No
Chanel
way.
and went walking around the area. And, they're saying they see all kinds of lights at night and, there's all kinds of
Really?
UAPs. Oh, yeah. I got to send you this documentary because
Yeah.
that's why when you were going on with the Karen's podcast, me and Nicole were just eating it up because we're all into that stuff and everything you were talking about. We're all up on that current news and all. So Lake Shasta, definitely one of those places you definitely want to check out and kind of look at all the history that they say that goes on there. It's pretty crazy.
Oh, I'm definitely going to check that out. Yeah, we go houseboating there annually, basically every year. So, I of course we get up early and are in bed pretty early on those lake days. But I'm going to have to make a point to stay awake and see if we can see these. You call them star people?
Yeah, it's star people. There's
Okay.
a certain amount of, I forgot, it's something with an L, Lemurians or something is who they say that lives in the mountains over there. And all the locals talk about them and they see all this crazy stuff at night and all these
Oh, no way.
fights and crazy. And even the sheriff of Shasta is on there like verifying everything and like saying he sees this stuff all the time. And
Wow.
yeah, I'll definitely get you that show and send that over.
I'm gonna check that out. Yeah, please do.
Also, so Amanda, give us some ideas. Like, what's some goals that you got coming up? Like, what's your 5-year goal?
5-year goal. Gosh, I wouldn't mind being close to retired 5 years. I have a little more time than that.
You're so young now.
Probably. I know that's wishful thinking. My partner really wants to go to Italy, so I think that's probably somewhere in the next 5 years.
Forget about it. You're talking my language right there.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
And I wouldn't mind, buying another a property down in where it's a little warmer, maybe down in Southern California. Spend some time down there. She has family down there. That would be nice to do as well.
Oh my
It's
God.
cold again. I don't know. Older I'm getting, I don't like the cold. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
That's why I left the East Coast over there.
I spent 25 years in Miami, so moving up to Georgia, that's about as north as I'm getting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Miami is very, very nice weather. I'm sure most of the time, mild climate. Yeah.
Humid, very, very humid.
Humid though, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
So I also want to know who would you like to see me interview from our BNI chapter? Who's somebody that would be interested in interview for you?
Man, everybody's so great in that group. I'm trying to think
Oh,
who I'd love. You
we
know,
got some
only
rock stars in this group. I gotta say, this BNI chapter, I mean, it is just next level. I mean, I went and
yeah,
visited a bunch of them before I locked in. Once I seen it, this is like the dream team of BNIs. Like everybody's a superstar in their industry, and there's so many. There's 44 members or
yeah,
45 members now.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a fantastic group. I was counted myself very fortunate, especially in my position. It's a pretty sought after position. So,
Oh yeah.
um, only because I like to talk about money and that sort of thing. I'd probably say Kelly Grant or Mark Dunn, because they're both kind of in that space. And I know they're both very good at what they do. Kelly does the long-term insurance and Mark does the financial planning.
All right, so I'm gonna put that down. Okay, Mark Dunn.
And then if I'm talking hobby, I'd say Ellen, because I'm a bit of a amateur design buff myself. I enjoy design and looking at design and doing that sort of thing.
Ellen's work when I first that first place first time I came to the BNI, I think she put up some of her work and all, and I was just taken back. I remember going home and telling Nicole, I was like, I found our interior designer, like 100%. She is just amazing, and I gotta say, I'm proud to say Ellen is actually going to be on interview October 30th.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, we're not going that Friday just because it's Halloween, but
Right.
Thursday we're gonna have Ellen on and we're doing an episode. So guys in the BNI, make sure you mark that on your calendar. October 30th, we have Ellen on. So any kind of questions, definitely get them ready for her.
Yeah,
Also,
maybe. Oh,
sorry.
go ahead.
I also want to make mention, we also got November 7th, we have Nicole Humber coming on. And Nicole is a superstar of our BNI group. She was just the vice president. I think she just changed her title now. But yeah, what a go-getter,
Mhm.
entrepreneur, superstar entrepreneur. She'll be on November 7th. That's going to be also a very good one. So I got all these great entrepreneurs coming on, bunch of interviews all lined up. We're getting into all these different industries, and what we're trying to do is we're just trying to learn from each other. We're trying to learn the strengths. We see Amanda, she's amazing communication and networking and all, and how can we apply that into our industry? How can we make that into success for ourselves and all? And that's kind of what I'm trying to do. When I first came into here, I was just getting all junk removal people. We did it for like a year straight. We got everybody. I learned everything about junk removal, but now I want to expand more. I want to learn from more people out there. So that's kind of like the goal here. So guys, if you guys have somebody in mind that you'd like to have me interview, definitely hit me up, send me a DM, let me know. Any suggestions, I'm definitely open. I know we are pretty booked for, I think it's the next like 2 months, because I got so many people in the BNI. So, they're filling up quick. But yeah, let me know if you want to be on or if you got somebody else that would like to be on. I want to thank you, Amanda, for coming on today. It was an amazing interview. Also,
Thank
Amanda, where
Absolutely.
can everybody check you out? And also shout out that Karen's podcast. Where can everybody sign up to there and subscribe and all the good stuff?
Yes, please. I would love more people to check the Karen's podcast out. It's my passion project and it's so much fun. We drop new episodes every Monday. And right now you can find us on Apple, Spotify, Castbox. And I believe Hannah's starting to actually post some of our stuff on YouTube as well. And if they wanted to email me any questions, they can email me at info at the karenspodcast.com. As far as my loan, I would love to talk with anybody that wants to learn a little bit about financing. They can reach me at your lender for life.com. So your lender for life, FOR.com.
And you know what you do, Amanda? Send me whatever links you have, and I'll put that in the description for everybody. So, guys, just check out the description. You'll be able to connect with Amanda over there. So, guys, if you have any questions about mortgage lending or you heard from now, it's better to connect with her now. Don't have something in your head like I'm not ready or it's not a good time. It's perfect time to reach out to her now. Make your plan from A to Z. It will help you in the future. Amanda, you could just hear the knowledge that she has. She really, really knows her stuff. The experience is there.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
definitely hit her up. Kevin, where can everybody hit you up and reach out to you?
Well, in the junk removal industry, you can hit me up at the, you can look me up at the junkevolution.com. Anywhere, any other industry looking, leadingwithpurpose.info. And you can always find me on Facebook and pretty much everywhere else.
And Drew just attached a link to his books right here. We got Leading with Grit and Purpose, Driven Leadership in a Blue Collar World, the Leadership Evolution series. So check it out. These are all books from Kevin. He's got his big release this Friday coming up, guys. So he kind of gave us a sneak peek and all that. Can't wait to get my copy. Definitely got to get it autographed. There it is, guys. Screenshot it right now.
Can't see it until Friday when it's released.
Nice.
I love it. Well, thank you guys again for coming on. Thank you for everybody in the chat. Really appreciate it. If you guys haven't already, please hit that thumbs up button. It helps us get in the algorithm, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night, guys. Thanks.
Bye.